Officer and members of the public gallery. Welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee on this day, Tuesday, the 20th of September. I would like to remind our members that this evening's meeting is just that, it's a meeting of our members with recommendations to the full council. And that was because of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Okay, so let's move on please to the first item of the agenda, which is number 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies this evening from councillors Tom Buckley, Ian Clark, Stefan Gavchak and Lorraine Hill.
Thank you. And moving on to item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? Yes, Councillor Arlott.
Are we going to declare interest on the application for the fair chairman? Does the town council obviously have a financial interest in it?
Yes. Kathy, would you like to speak to that one? We won't comment on it. The committee shouldn't comment. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, let's move on to the next item then, which is item number 3. Minutes to approve the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 30th of August. Yes, Councillor Plant, for acceptance, seconded by Councillor Arlott. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And now we come to the part of the meeting where we hand over to members of the public. Item number 4. Do we have anyone this evening who would like to address the planning committee with a question, comments? Anybody would any of you like to speak?
I would just like to clarify, Bill and myself are representatives from Brixton National and Parish Council for the listed planning, and so we're trying to work out whether we speak now or whether when that comes up.
Okay, Henley Town Council will request that you speak during public participation, and we've reached that part of the agenda now. While council is debating, you're not allowed to interrupt and you're not allowed to ask any questions, etc. So if you want to speak, please do put your hand up now. Is there anyone actually from Henley who wants to speak? Because people from Henley take precedence.
Not maybe in the time.
No, that's okay. I know you're from Massington, sir. Okay, which one of you would like to speak first? You're very welcome to speak, both of you, for 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go.
If you just like to state your name.
My name's Bill Murdoch, William Murdoch,
Okay,
MURDOCH,
thank you. Whenever you're ready.
and I'm chair of our planning committee in Brixton National.
Okay.
I'm representing or putting forward the views expressed by very surprisingly few of the residents. But the main concern as regards planning is that of the scale, both in height and size of the proposal. We also feel that on individual items, things like with 115 proposed units, that 80 spaces, car parking spaces, despite the fact there's a couple, is inadequate. 80 for residents and 20 or so proposed for staff and visitors. Well, I would have thought there could be 20 visitors, but anyway, we think that's inadequate and it will be far more than that. But the bulk and scale and the height, I think, in its position at the moment, with the trees are not going to be hit, not going to hide the development or mask it, despite the statements. So that is from a planning issue. It's parking, or scale, size, presentation, the inadequate parking, the amount of new traffic that were brought in. Really, in detail, not very keen on this idea of 2 roads of an access into the development, one for the staff and services and one for the visitors and the residents. But the bulk of it is that originally in their presentations, very difficult because you gentlemen were all there. And I've heard 3 versions of it, and it varies each time as to what we're going to do. I mean, the initial one was going to be 40% of the existing buildings were going to be converted. And then we were told that's right, totally wrong. There's been a variety of changes as we've gone along through the Queen presentation. And I question, I would like to be able to get a better idea of the scale, and we've taken our own ideas of the size of the development. I mean, they're talking about 44 square meters, 44,000 square meters. We think about that, half of that again. But without scale drawing, it's very difficult. We've only got the presentation book.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that's really the substance of it. The residents are concerned locally about the upset and the amount of building work that will go on and the duration, etc. That's not a planning issue. But these are the sort of things that are being brought to us as a parish council.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? To address to Vix and Aston? No? Would you like to speak as well?
I just wanted to make a comment about,
If you could give us your name, please.
oh, sorry, I'm a Chantry, so INA. Chantry, CHANTRY.
Okay.
And I'm chair of Vix National Parish Council.
Mhm.
So my comment would be that the plans so far do not make clear what the building materials will be. And while the Smith Centre is not the most attractive of buildings, it is a number of buildings and so therefore is not a single mass. This plan comes across as being a single mass built in a material that is not visible in Lower Essendon, because the majority of homes in Middle Essendon are either brick and flint or brick. And
Not in the
so
local
there's
vernacular.
a contradiction in the building materials, or a possible contradiction in the building materials.
Mhm.
I think the other bit is that with the 5 stories, when you come into the centre, you actually got quite a slope. So 5 stories is going to be even more imposing than it sounds if it was built on the level with the roadside. And it's going to be probably close on a story higher across the road, the third side. And that means that building is going to be larger. And then there are other things, but they're not as important as the first one. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Would anybody like to speak to address the planning committee at all? No? Another opportunity, another right, would you like to speak to us again or? No? You're very welcome to.
I would address the comments, raised now, which in terms of,
If you could give us your name.
yeah, sorry, Mark Harry, the planning and development director from the Leasing Management, the
Yeah.
applicant from the site. So, I would hope, we could illustrate the consistency of messaging. So, we spent a lot of time, presenting to these parties here.
If you could address us and not
Yeah,
them.
of course, sorry. I think suggestions that anything's been disingenuous, I think,
I don't think that was the,
okay.
that was,
Fine.
yeah.
And then, in terms of materiality, James, you just comment on materiality.
So, Jamie, yes, the materials used or proposed in the application are brick, predominantly brick, with detailed brick patterning, a lot of effort has gone into looking at how to articulate the buildings in a suite of materials that are found commonly across the local area, including things like stone highlights around windows and such like. So it is a material that is predominantly used in.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No, okay, let's bring public participation to an end then. Thank you very much for your contributions. Now, councillors, what would you like to do? Would you like to actually discuss and debate and decide on this particular application now, or would you like to go through some of the applications before us in order of the agenda? Councillor Plant, what would you like to do?
Propose we move it to the front.
Okay, do you have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, councillor Shepherd, all those in favour? All those against? Okay. That's carried. Let's discuss it now.
So I never do that. My children are going to thank you.
Okay, so just to be clear, which application we're moving towards that we just voted on is P22 S3033. It's a full application for the Smith Centre on the Fair Mile. And we don't have Jodie Wines, our planning officer, here present with us. But she has left Kath Adams, deputy clerk, with her comments. Let's listen to them now.
Okay, Jodie's looked at these plans extensively and has the following comments. The site is not allocated in either the South Oxfordshire local plan or the Joint Penny and Hartston neighbourhood plan for any development. The site was previously in use as employment. That use is protected by policy EMP3 of the local plan. Proposals for the redevelopment or change of use of employment land to non-employment uses will only be permitted if: 1, the applicants can demonstrate that any employment use is no longer viable. 2, it is evidence that there is no market interest in the site following 1 year of active and effective marketing. Or 3, the development will bring about significant improvements to the living conditions of nearby residents or to the environment. Planning statement states that despite marketing for a minimum period of 12 months, the office accommodation did not attract any occupiers. Policy H13 of the local plan states that encouragement will be given to developments which include the delivery of specialist housing for older people in locations with good access to public transport and local facilities. Whether or not the site has good access to local facilities could be open to debate. The site is located within the AONB. Quotes, great weight should be given to conserving and enhancing landscaping beauty in our areas of outstanding natural beauty, which have the highest status of protection in relation to these issues. End of quote. SODC considered that the proposals constitutes major development in the AONB and would be subject to the requirements of paragraph 177 of the NPPF to demonstrate exceptional circumstances. Some concerns have been raised by the SODC landscape officer in relation to the scale, the impact on the AONB, and incorporating the proposed built form into existing levels on site. There are trees on site subject to tree preservation orders, and it must be demonstrated that the development will not have any direct or indirect adverse impacts on nearby SSI. The conservation officer has expressed that some of the older buildings on the site could be considered non-designated heritage assets. Demolition would result in a complete loss of significance and would need justification. The application does not make provision for affordable housing and asserts that it is not financially viable. 46 affordable homes should be provided on this site, which is currently in conflict with policy H9 of the local plan. The waste management officer has also requested more information on bin storage.
Okay, councillors, do we have any proposals? Yes, councillor Crowe.
Refusal.
Planning reasons?
Out of keeping, overdevelopment. Got brain fog.
Any plan policies?
Yeah, about the. Someone help me here, because my brain's not, I've lost my pen.
Councillor Roman.
Okay, I mean, I'll second the proposal. So I think for me, I mean, there's a number of different factors here. They just weighing everything up. I mean, I am conscious of what our colleagues, if we want to call them that, from Bix and Essendon have said. They probably live a lot closer to the site than we do and have a more detailed view of it. So that is something to take into consideration here. But also, I mean, the list of concerns being raised by South Oxfordshire District Council should not be discounted. And I think for me, I mean, yes, it does look like overdevelopment. Unfortunately, it's not a local plan site. Once again, we've seen another application with a lack of affordable housing, which is a massive issue in this town, and it's in a beauty spot. So I'm afraid for me, it's a no.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll go back to the proposer, councillor Crowe.
But also, it says about the public transport links, actually. I don't know if any of these people from the planning people have actually tried crossing that road, because I did it the other day and it was like playing chicken. And if you're like about 80 years old and you've gone to Nettlebed, or you've gone to Wallingford or Oxford or something and done some shopping, trying to cross that road is like a death trap. And someone may get killed, and do they really want that, to have that?
Okay, so highway safety then. thank
It's
you.
highway safety, it's
Yeah.
so dangerous.
Okay, so we've got a proposal for refusal. It's been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Plants.
Yeah, I said that you've done a great job on chatting to us and the application, presenting it. I think you really have. Yeah, I think you, like I was just saying previously in the discussion before, but just to reiterate that, I think what you offer or intend to offer is good. I do disagree with parts of it being 5 floors, obviously, one side, and I agree with top off, you're probably making that difficult to do, and obviously you want to make the site viable. But I just believe, as councillors representing our local population, it's just not what our town and residents wish at this moment. I don't think it's a bad application, it's just not in the current timing. I know that you're not offering housing and affordable housing, but if you were doing that on this site with 40% being affordable, and you'd put as much thought and detail into it, I think we'd be having a different tune that would be more supportive. But right now, I'm struggling to support this application, the relevance of how well it's been put together.
Would any other council like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, okay. All those in favour? And all those against, all those abstaining? Okay, thank you, that's carried.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's carry on, please, with the agenda as printed, which is 5 plans amended. Please turn to page 11. Thank you. Okay, so item 5, plans amended. Is Jane Collins amended one?
No, because she'd only written a comment on the land trust affair rather than giving that.
All right, so yes, so
I can make 2 or 3 comments on it. And this is not saying for or against it, but I think.
are you speaking to P19 S2350 full land West?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
But I'm not speaking for or against it. I was just a bit concerned with, and I had a word with the chairman of the Henley Society before, and I was a wee bit concerned with their comments. Where first of all, they start talking about 71 units. And I did ask him the question, had the proper application been looked at? Because, we're looking at 71 units, but they've compared it to 72 units, which may have been an earlier application. And they've made a few other comments in there, which I think are incorrect. I think they should be aware that this application was deposited 2.5 years ago. And the applicant has gone back and back and back to try and clarify things with the SODC plan officer. And that's why now we are getting to determine the application. But, one of the things it does give is it gives us 40% affordable housing.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing, which is a bit concerning, it's in the original neighbourhood plan, and it's just been accepted into the review of the neighbourhood plan. And that's why I'm a little bit surprised with some of the comments that the Henley Society have made. And if you'd like to take that back, your members, the chairman of the society, I would appreciate.
Yeah, it's gone to referendum. So yeah, Councillor Crook.
I'd like to make a couple of comments about the removal of 1/3 of 166 trees that will be around.
We're not debating it.
We're not commenting.
No, we're not commenting on it because we have an interest in this. We already decided that at the front of the start of the meeting.
So I think it's good that any society is democratic and discuss it. That's strong. They might not all understand, not in the neighbourhood, but
Yeah, okay, right. So let's move on to the next one, which is P19 S4319. It's a full application and it's Gillett School. Now, just to remind councillors, the decision you came to last time was the committee unanimously recommended refusal on the grounds of visual impact on the character of the area, the effect on local wildlife and proximity of the fenced in footpath. Did Jodie have any comments on this one? No comments. Yes, councillor Plant.
I propose the same. It hasn't gone nearly far enough to answer any of the previous concerns.
Okay, is that seconded, councillor Romans? Thank you. Does any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, all those in favour of registration refusal? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Next is P 22 S 2245. It's a householder application for 14 Grays Road. And just to remind councillors, last time it was recommend approval, but highlight to SODC that the garage is currently under construction. Councillor Plants.
I mean, it is very annoying that it is currently under construction, but still recommend approval again.
Okay, seconded. Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And next is P 22 S 2394. It's a householder application. It's for 124 St Andrews Road. And the observation last time was recommend approval. Councillor Plants,
They're actually removing some accommodation, but they recommend approval.
is that seconded? Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, let's move to the vote. Then all those in favour of approval. Okay, that's carried, thank you. Right, so that includes agenda item 5. Let's move on to agenda item 6, which is plans new. So we've already, no, we haven't. This is, yeah, that's right. It's P 22 S 2751. It's a listed building application for 10 Grays Hill. Has Jodie got comments for this one?
No, I don't think I've got any other comments.
Nothing at all.
No, she did, so she did something on the Giller School. didn't she?
So the comment is no comment.
No, she couldn't see any issues with anything.
Okay, so she's got no comments for. It doesn't mean that we had this last time, do you remember?
Yeah, that is it.
No, you know what I mean, councillors, okay, so she has got no comments. It's not that she's not making a comment. She does have no comments, okay? Okay, councillor Plant, you have a proposal?
Yeah, it's very straightforward. It's subject to conservation approval.
Okay, seconded by councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval subject to the conservation officer? Thank you, that's carried. And the next item is P 22 S 2783. It's listed building consent for Old Ship House, Wharf Lane. Councillor Romans.
Right, ditto, so, I recommend approval.
Okay, is that seconded? Yes, thank you. That's-
Yeah,
So-
oh, yeah, I'm happy with this one, yes.
Okay, thank you. Subject to the conservation officer. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval, subject to the conservation officer being happy. Thank you, that's approved. And the next one is P 22 S 2918. It's a householder application for 17B Fairmile Henley on Thames.
Can we take it together with the listed building?
Well, this is what I don't understand about this one. Did you notice the same thing, that the listed building application is connected to the one above? It only says it's about the pedestrian gates. Well, that's the least most important part of the whole construction. So I don't understand why the single story rear and side extension to form an enlarged kitchen, family room and study with a new pedestrian gate. Why is that first line not being considered under listed building consent?
I'm sure they're going to.
I don't know. We can make an inquiry on that.
Because I did have, we would have all looked at this. And the listed build consent is literally for the new pedestrian gate.
Should we seek clarification?
Well, shall we?
We're not voting on it anyway, so we can always clarify before the council.
Yeah, that's true. Should we do that?
We'd quite like to.
Let's
see
just
it.
have an indication though of which way it's going to go. So let's just, let's take them together. And we are going to assume that this is just a slight no. Okay, what should we do then? Councillor Arlett?
Well, you might assume that I'm going to vote against it by my doctor.
No, so I'm not talking about the actual,
I think
I'm
it's-
talking about this
I think,
situation you have.
I think we should then,
Consent.
the simple way is just vote against them. Vote for each item. That's the best way to go.
Okay. But then raise the had told Ron to have listed building
Yeah.
consent as well. Okay, let's do that. So the first one is P 22 S2918, and it's a householder application, and it's the 17B Fairmile. Councillor Parks.
I mean, even if this was listed, I would still go for their matching like materials, their natural slates, the timber material is going to be the same, side dimension is going to be a ship cladding. Yeah, I mean, I've got no problems with it, subject to conservation.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it affects the newer part of the building anyway, which is modern in its entirety. Councillor Romans,
I'll
yeah,
second
you
that.
seconding, okay, thank you. Do any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Okay, that's carried, thank you. And the second is P 22 S2919, listed building consent for 17B Fairmile. Yes, councillor.
Completely against it, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
approve, yeah, subject.
subject to the conservation officer seconding.
No, I just want to speak.
Okay, let's find a seconder first. Yeah, councillor Romans, thank you, yes.
Is it because it's
Councillor
a brick wall? Because where the next door neighbour is,
Creed?
from the, yeah, it's brick wall, okay? And it's where the post box is, brick wall. Are they planning to knock a hole in the brick wall for the gate?
In front of the house, yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's why it's got the listed building thing.
Why is the house not listed in?
The house is listed.
Yeah, but it's the wall. It's making up a gate.
Yeah, we know,
Right,
we understand that.
okay. So I just checked that people were aware, because sometimes we grant permission and not realise it's actually a wall we're knocking.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval, subject to the conservation that's been seconded. Any other comments? No, let's put this to the vote then, all those in favour. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, the next two I'll take together. It's P 22 S2929. It's a householder application for 8 Norman Avenue. Councillor Romans,
Propose approval for both, subject to the conservation officer being happy with it.
okay, is that seconded?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arnott?
Just briefly, you know, we're all meant to be signed up to this climate emergency and be putting air pumps in and heat pumps in and whatever. And for some reason, certain people object to them, and I find it very difficult to find what's objectionable on one of these on one house and not on the other. I know this is a conservation area, and we haven't seen it necessarily on solar panels. You know, one farmer comes along and wants to put solar panels, which they support, and then the next one, the Greens and the Liberals vote against it. And I can't at this moment get my head around it. We're either going to support climate emergency 100%, or are we going to get kind of picky choosy what we're going to support and what we're not? I
Could
think
you not tar us with the SODC in the consultants? We are very consistent.
We are a very
We are in
tight
support
planning committee.
of the-
It's what you could be, you could be consistent with being inconsistent.
My only observation is here is that the neighbour hasn't made any objections at all.
That's because they're not in the
And anyway, listen, we've got, are you okay? Yeah, it's cold, isn't it? I don't know how you can sit there with just a t-shirt on. Okay, so where are we? We've got a motion for approval, which has been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P 22 S3025. It's a householder application for 25 Manor Road. Councillor Plant,
Yes. Approved.
okay, is that seconded? Councillor Romans, thank you. Any other councillor like to speak? Yes.
I'm just
Councillor-
concerned about the height of the rear dormer, because it's level with the roof pitch, the thing, and it's quite a large dormer that's going to be overbearing into people's gardens. That's what I really have concerns about. And also the thing goes right up to there's a comment made by the neighbour that says it goes right up to the boundary, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm not keen on the roof at all. It's a very, very prominent part because it's on a corner, very, very prominent to the street scene. Yeah, I think it's quite overbearing, that roof line.
Mm.
And they haven't specified where the heat pump will be, even though I'm supportive of the heat pump, they do need to actually tell the planning officers where the heat pump will be. I won't be supporting it, but let's put this to the vote then, because we've got a motion which has been seconded. Okay, so all those in favour of approval? And all those against? Okay, it's carried.
Then against, it already has found.
Okay.
Yes. There are amendments on a previous full application, that's already approved.
Oh,
Yeah. Not that matters.
oh, dear. Right, now where are we?
The old boundary.
Right, so we have completed page 13. We have already discussed over the page on page 14, the Smith Centre, and have given them a decision. And so let's go to P22 S3066 listed building. But can I please actually connect it to the household application, which is further down? You can see that. Did you spot that one? So
Yeah.
those two do need to be connected.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's go for P22 S3066 listed building, the old Foundry 47 Friday Street, and P22 S0315 household application for the old Foundry 47 Friday Street. Councillor Parks.
I'm in support of it if conservation is happy, but since it's already happened, I'd like to actually see it inspected, because this house has come before, well, planning and the individual applicants contacted numerous, individually to talk to us extensively about this and how thoroughly it's being done. And yet here we have something that's retrospective.
Yeah,
And actually, it could be on a better foundation and it could look exactly how it did, and every brick could have been cleaned and reused, or it may not. So that I'm in support of it. I'd rather see it inspected before we actually see it.
okay. Councillor Romans, you seconding?
I'll second that proposal, yeah.
Okay. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, so we have a motion for approval subject to inspection. All those in favour? Okay, that carried, thank you. So I'll take the next, the next one is P22 S3079 is a household application for 45 Park Road. Councillor Plants,
Approval.
seconded. Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. The next two I'll take together, P22 S3100 household application for 6 Hop Gardens, and then P22 S3101 listed building consent, again 6 Hop Gardens. Councillor Plants,
I've got no problems with the application apart from it's completely unsuitable material to be used for that area. So refusal on grounds out of keeping the streets in or unsuitable construction material.
okay, so that's seconded.
Yeah.
Councillor Crowley seconding.
Yeah, and also I'd like, well, it was for refusal, wasn't it?
This is, yeah, this is for review.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a comment. The fact is that there's more flats being put into the town where there isn't the bin storage, and then.
No, hang on.
Duke Street's the next one.
Just so that you know, we're on 6 Hop Gardens.
Oh, right, 6 Hop, sorry.
Yeah, 6 Hop
That's
Gardens.
because I'm just like.
No, that's okay.
Duke Street. and
That's
I'm
okay.
thinking, oh,
So
right, no,
just
that's
to
fine.
rewind, are you still seconding the refusal?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, all those in favour of refusal? Thank you, that's carried. And abstaining? Councillor Orlick, you abstaining?
No, I'm voting against.
You're going voting against, so, okay.
Wonder.
Picking plus, I might know.
Okay, so the next one is, again, I'll take these two together. We've got P22 S3105. It's a full application, 6 Duke Street, and P22 S3106 listed building consent, again, 6 Duke Street. Councillor Romans.
I'm going to propose refusal to both applications for this. For me, it just looks like a lot of overdevelopment if you're trying to take one flat and essentially turn it into 2. And of course, there are knock-on effects to that potentially with, as Councillor Crook almost pointed out just now regarding parking and things. So, yeah, it's just too much overdevelopment for me, so it's not.
Okay, yeah. Is that seconded? Yes, councillor Crook. Yeah, would any other councillor like to speak? Well, I noticed here that the conservation officer has a holding objection on this one. So I'm not happy for that reason. The holding objection is that there's just not enough information being provided. So till that information is provided, I'll not be in support of this application. Okay, so there's my view. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of refusal? Okay, that's carried, that's unanimous, thank you.
Sorry, Lawrence. I thought you definitely got a tick, you can't change it, that's a tick.
You're not allowed to make big decisions at planning.
Okay, so we've already covered the old boundary. So let's move to P22 S3184, it's a household application for 105 St Mark's Road. Councillor Plants. That's seconded.
Yeah.
Councillor Arlett is seconding. Would any other councillor like to speak? I was just slightly concerned about the neighbours' comments on the 45-degree. Any comments about that? Okay, I'm in support of the neighbour on this one. I agree with the 45, so I won't be supporting, but let's put it to the vote because we've got the motion for approval, which has been seconded. All those in favour of approval? All those against? Okay, so that's fallen. So I'll put the proposal forward then. Which is, I do believe that the neighbour will lose amenity to their property. I think that the two-storey rear extension is does not comply with the 45-degree rule. They're my two overriding planning reasons. Okay, so would any other councillor, are you seconding, would any other councillor like to speak to my observations?
No, I think we should keep on with lots of roads on that road. I think, they'll struggle to get it up. Good luck. Just so you know,
Okay, all those in favour of approval of refusal? All those against?
Approval of refusal.
It's a tongue twister for you. Okay,
Sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
I used to get myself confused with those ones, but I don't anymore. Right, P22 S3193 is a household application and it's for 253B Grays Road. Councillor Plants.
Subject to the tree screen. One of those being kept. Yes.
Okay, so seconded. Councillor Rowlands, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Crook.
To reiterate what councillor Plant said, because of the neighbour, it's with the garden.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's put this to the vote. Then all those in favour of approval subject to that condition? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so that concludes agenda item 6. Let's move to number 7, objections, calling applications. Do we have any?
That's in London.
So-
You go on meat market.
The Smith Centre.
It will probably go but that class of the major ones, will
Yeah.
probably go to continue, but it's probably outside the 28 days as well. Well,
Why is that? Should be, because it should have made the other, it would have, the only just come forward.
I know this, the application's been in for quite a while.
That's me.
I'll check it out. Do you want to call it, if you want to call it, and I'll call it, in, subject to 28 days.
If you think it's going already, then
It should do, but I'll check it.
we might as well vote for it. just have a look.
Yeah, all those in favour? Okay. were there any others?
I mean, I shouldn't say this, I'm on the fence with this one, but I mean, the Gillett School fences once again reared its ugly head. I mean, is it worth putting that one through, or is it just?
I don't know, I'm very, I don't know, councillor Arnold, what do you think? as a-
We've got
as a
this
use of
problem
planning?
at SADC at the moment, which we're trying to resolve through their constitution committee. If a plan application goes in, and I call it in for the 28 days, it's fine. If an amendment, if I haven't called it in, and an amendment comes in, and an amendment comes in, I then can't call it in because I didn't call the original within the 28 days. And the only way I can get it called in at the moment is if I speak to the senior plan officer, and then he calls it in, but I can't. So we're trying to change it at the moment. So, you know, normally an amendment would improve something rather than make it worse, or one would consider that. But just occasionally you might get one that kind of makes it worse. But on this one, if I didn't call the original one in, this would now an amendment. It'd be too late to call this in now. So all I could do is to speak to the officer, and I'll do that. I'll speak to
Do we
the
have any
officer.
indication from the officer
No.
what their thoughts are on it? No?
I'll speak to the officer.
It's a difficult one because it is, you know, it's in the countryside. Right, let's move on then. Agenda item 8. Decision notices. This is just to receive and note the report of the decision notices received from the planning authority. Yep. Thank you. And then number 9, which is progress report for applications called in on page 19. Page 19, please. We'll turn to that one. Do we have any updates?
The only one I can update is 1110 side. It should have come up 3 weeks ago at the planning meeting, but we went. It was the last one on the agenda, and we never got to it. So it's coming up tomorrow night.
What do you mean you ran out of time?
Yeah.
Did that happen, does it? You have a time limit on these?
2.5 hours. So we start at 6, at
Yeah.
8:30. Then I'd have to go for a vote to carry on or not. And we normally just carry on with the application that we're on and then cease the meeting. after that one.
Oh, I didn't know
Your
that.
vote is- No, you don't extend the one that you're on.
Let me keep this brief.
I've got one more update, which is that myself and Oxfordshire County Council, 2 members of staff from Oxfordshire County Council met Stormark Care Homes this morning and had a very positive meeting on the way forward on the site of Henny Manor Care Home. That's the that's the right of way, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully there'll be more news coming forward there. We know that what has happened with Premier Inn, so we can update that record. It has been updated, planning application reviews, so that's fine. I think. Oh, sorry, Councillor Arnold.
Yeah, just on the last 2, at the last meeting, both of these came up, and I think we recommended refusal on both of them. And before that meeting took place, Jodie wrote to all the planning officers and asked if we could have an extension to the 28 days. It was the way the committee meetings worked out. All the planning officers replied, which I found out afterwards, to say that was fine, except the one that's is running the 19 to 21 Bell Street. So obviously I called that one in at the request of the town council and was told by, I think it was Paul Lucas, that I was outside the 28 days. Kath's email was more polite than mine, and
That's a surprise.
but we still haven't had a
Yeah.
so I haven't heard anything reply to mine, and obviously you haven't yours.
No.
So I'll politely write him another polite email tomorrow, suggesting that he obviously has a problem answering email.
He's working from home.
Could well be. So, yeah, so the 11th, the 9 to 11 Dale Street was fine, but we're still discussing the 19 to 21 Dale Street. I'll follow that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's just go through the progress reports. We haven't got councillor Gavin here, so we'll update on that one at the next meeting. And again, traffic and pedestrian surveys, you haven't got any more updates to that one, have you?
I did get some more information from OCC, but I need to follow that up with them.
Okay. So we know about the station car park. That's been refused. And then, last but not least, the Article 4 direction is ongoing. I'm not sure that we can send any more. Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, we've taken it up with SODC and they're hopefully going to integrate it in their new local plan, or the joint local plan that's been discussed at the moment with the Vale of the White Horse and SODC. Now, if we're going to ask Kath to follow this up, she's just not going to have the time to do it. Well, that'd be my view at this moment in time. So I don't think there's any further that we can really do until SODC.
When do they start work on this new one?
They've been going for about a year.
And when's the date for
I don't know.
target date? No?
No, they haven't given a date.
Okay.
I think it's a good job making sure that they've discussed it, and we'll see, well, I guess it will be yourself or staff and
Well,
parliament's discussions, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's positive news that it's going to be put into the next local plan.
Good job.
Yeah. Much better than where we were before.
What's your hands?
Okay, that completes the meeting of the